Hello everyone, today I'm going to discuss about employees' motivation. Psychologists have postulated that some employees are more predisposed to being motivated than others. Researchers have found 4 individual differences that are most related to work motivation. Second, the self-esteem. The extent to which a person views himself as valuable and worthy. According to Corman's consistency theory, there is a positive correlation between self-esteem and performance. This is, employees who feel good about themselves are motivated to perform better at work than employees who do not feel that they are valuable and worthy people. There are 3 types of self-esteem, namely chronic self-esteem, situational self-esteem, and social influence self-esteem. Chronic self-esteem is person's overall feeling about himself. Situational self-esteem, also called as self-efficacy, is a person's feeling about himself in a particular situation. Socially influenced self-esteem is how a person feels about himself on the basis of the expectations of others. All 3 types of self-esteem are important to job performance. Organizations can theoretically do this in 3 ways: self-esteem workshops, experience with success, and supervisor behavior. To increase self-esteem, employees can attend workshops in which they are given insights into their strength. Also, with the experience with success approach, an employee is given a task so easy that he will almost certainly succeed. It is thought that this success increases self-esteem, which should increase performance, which further increases self-esteem, which further increases performance. This method is based loosely on the principle of the self-fulfilling prophecy, which states that an individual will perform as well or as poorly as he expects to perform. This relationship between self-expectations and performance is called the Galatea effect. Another approach to increasing employee self-esteem is to train supervisors to communicate a feeling of confidence in an employee. The idea here is that if an employee feels that a manager has confidence in him, his self-esteem will increase as well as his performance. Such a process is known as the Pygmalion effect and has been demonstrated in situations as varied as elementary school classrooms, the workplace, courtrooms, and the military. In contrast, the Golem effect occurs when the negative expectations of an individual cause a decrease in that individual's actual performance. Third, the intrinsic motivation. When people are intrinsically motivated, they will seek to perform well because they either enjoy performing the actual tasks or enjoy the challenge of successfully completing the task. When they are extrinsically motivated, they may not necessarily enjoy the task but are motivated to perform well to receive some type of reward or to avoid negative consequence. People who are intrinsically motivated don't need external rewards such as pay or praise. In fact, being paid for something they enjoy may reduce their satisfaction and intrinsic motivation. Lastly, the needs for achievement and power. A theory developed by McClelland, 1961, suggests that employees differ in the extent to which they are motivated by the need for achievement, affiliation, and power. Need for achievement according to trait theory is the extent to which a person desires to be successful, while need for affiliation is the extent to which a person desires to be around other people. Lastly, the need for power according to trait theory is the extent to which a person desires to be in control of other people. To increase motivation, goal setting should be used. With goal setting, each employee is given a goal such as increasing attendance, selling more products, or reducing the number of grammar errors in reports. The first goal-setting study that caught the interest of industrial psychology was conducted by Latham and Blades. Their study was brought about because truck drivers at a logging mill were not completely filling their trucks before making deliveries. Empty space in the trucks obviously cost the company money. To increase each delivery's load, the drivers were given specific weight goals and were told that they should be neither punished nor rewarded for reaching the goal. A significant increase in the average load per delivery resulted. Although this is the most celebrated study, goal setting has been shown to be effective in a wide variety of situations. For goal setting to be most successful, the goals themselves should possess certain qualities represented by the acronym SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. If a person says he will do as many exercises as he can, does that mean he will do as many as he can until he tires? As many as he can before he begins to sweat? As many as he did the last time? The problem with such a goal is its ambiguity and lack of specific guidelines. Properly set goals are concrete and specific. The more specific the goal, the greater the productivity. Properly set goals are measurable. Also, properly set goals are high but attainable. If an employee regularly prints 5,000 pages an hour and sets a goal of 4,000 pages, performance is certainly not going to increase. Conversely, if the goal becomes 200,000 pages, it will also not be effective because the employee will quickly realize that he cannot meet the goal and will quit trying. Though setting higher goals generally leads to better performance than does setting lower goals, the level of goal difficulty will most affect the performance when employees are committed to reaching the goal. For example, if a police chief sets a high goal for a police officer to write traffic citations, the officer will not increase the number of citations he writes unless he is committed to the goal. That is he believes he can accomplish the goal, agrees that the goal is worthwhile, and will be rewarded for achieving the goal, his commitment to achieve the goal is likely to be high. Interestingly, setting goals that are too difficult to be accomplished can result not only in decreased performance, but in an increase in unethical behavior as well. When employees feel pressure to reach a goal that they realize can't be met, they at times will engage in unethical behaviors in attempts to reach the goal or to cook the books to make it look as if the goals have been met. Not surprisingly, people differ in the extent to which they set high goals. Optimists tend to set higher goals than do pessimists. In the Big Five schema, people scoring high in conscientiousness, extraversion, openness, and low in agreeableness and neuroticism also tend to set high goals. Properly set goals are also relevant. Set a goal about increasing public speaking skills will not be as motivating to a person working in a landfill as it would be to a police officer who often
Incentives
testifies
can be
in
given
court.
for either individual performance
Goals
or
work
group
best when
performance.
there is a time
For
frame
individual
for their
incentive
completion.
plans, it is
For
designed
example,
to make high levels
a goal
of
to clean
individual
one's
performance
office would be
financially
more motivating
worthwhile,
if the
and
goal
their
included
research
a
is
date
clear that
by which the
monetary
office would be
incentives
clean.
Until
increase
fairly
performance
recently,
over
it
the
was
use
generally
of
thought
a
that
guaranteed
would
hourly
lead to the
salary.
greatest increase
Individual
in
incentives
productivity
help
if it
reduce
was
such
set
group
at
problems
least
as
in part
social
by the
loafing,
employees.
which is discussed
To
in
increase
Chapter
the
13.
effectiveness of goal
There are
setting,
three main
feedback should
problems
be provided
associated
to
with
employees
individuals'
on their
incentive
progress
plans.
in reaching
The
their
first
goals.
is the difficulty in measuring
Feedback is so
individual
important that in a
performance.
survey of
Not
information
only are
technology
objective
employees,
measures
80%
difficult
said
to
that
find,
effective
but
feedback would make
supervisors
them
are
less
reluctant
likely
to
to leave
evaluate
their
employees,
organization.
especially when
Unfortunately,
the outcome will
only
determine the amount of
42%
money
of
an
employees
employee will
reported
receive.
they receive regular feedback
The second
on
problem
their
is
performance.
that individual incentive
Feedback can
plans
include
can foster
verbally telling
competition
employees
among
how they are
employees.
doing,
Though
placing a
competition
chart
is not
on a
always
wall,
bad,
or
it is
using a
seldom
non-verbal
consistent
communication
among
such as
employees.
smile, glares, and pats on the back. Feedback best increases performance when it is positive and information rather than negative and controlling. To encourage employees to ask for feedback, supervisors should indicate their willingness to provide feedback and then reinforce employees who seek it. Feedback is constructive when it is given positively with the goal of encouraging and reinforcing positive behavior. For feedback to be effective, it must be given when an employee does things properly, not just when they make mistakes. Some tips for providing effective feedback can be found in the Career Workshop box. An essential strategy for motivating employees is to provide an incentive for employees to accomplish the goals set by an organization. As a result, organizations offer incentives for a wide variety of employee behaviors, including work overtime or on weekends, making suggestions, referring applications, staying with the company, coming to work, not getting into accident, and performing at a high level. The basis of these incentive systems are operant conditioning principle, which state that employees will engage in behaviors for which they are rewarded and avoid behaviors for which they are punished. Thus, if employees are rewarded for not making errors, they are more likely to produce high-quality works. If employees are rewarded for the amount of work done, they will place less emphasis on quality and try to increase their quantity. Finally, if employees are not rewarded for any behavior, they will search for behaviors that will be rewarded. Incentives can be given for either individual performance or group performance. For individual incentive plans, it is designed to make high levels of individual performance financially worthwhile, and the research is clear that monetary incentives increase performance over the use of a guaranteed hourly salary. Individual incentives help reduce such group problems as social loafing, which is discussed in Chapter 13. There are three main problems associated with individuals' incentive plans. The first is the difficulty in measuring individual performance. Not only are objective measures difficult to find, but supervisors are reluctant to evaluate employees, especially when the outcome will determine the amount of money an employee will receive. The second problem is that individual incentive plans can foster competition among employees. Though competition is not always bad, it is seldom consistent with the recent trend toward a team approach to work. When done right, however, team environments and individual incentive programs can coexist and result in high levels of employee performance. The third problem is that for an incentive plan to effectively motivate employees, it is essential that employees understand the incentive system. Surprisingly, only 30% of employees report that they understand how their pay is determined. The two most common individual incentive plans are pay for performance and merit pay. Pay for performance is the system in which employees are paid on the basis of how much they individually produce, while merit pay is an incentive plan in which employees receive pay bonuses based on performance appraisal scores. Employees observe the levels of motivation and satisfaction of other employees and then model those levels. Thus, if an organization's older employees work hard and talk positively about their jobs and their employer, new employees will model this behavior and be both productive and satisfied. The reverse is also true. If veteran employees work slowly and complain about their jobs, so too will new employees. The importance of this type of modeling was demonstrated in a study of 187 employees that found that employees who observe other employees engage in antisocial behavior began to act in a similar fashion. For a recap, employees who have high self-esteem, a high need for achievement and intrinsic motivation, and who are expected to perform well by others are more motivated than their counterparts with low self-esteem and low achievement need who are extrinsically motivated. Goals are most effective if they are concrete and specific, are of high but reasonable difficulty, and are set with the input of the employee. Providing feedback on the goal attainment and performance levels will increase performance. Also, operant conditioning principle can be used to motivate employees. It is important to treat employees fairly. Also, common individual incentive plans include pay for performance and merit pay. For our next discussion, I will be discussing about employee satisfaction and commitment.
That's all for today's discussion. Thank you.